Making a start on the vaulted kitchen ceiling. So with this one, I'm using the metal rails for us, um, which are slightly different from the bits that you use to the uprights and the rails that you use. It's a slightly thicker rail, slightly more rigid, and it's connected using some brackets which you can screw onto the rafters there, and then it just clips in. The brackets flexible enough that you can twist them ever so slightly, twist them sort of 45 degrees, and they'll slot into. There's a groove that the rail helps to hold the bracket in place, or the bracket helps to hold the rail in place. On this one, I got the longest brackets I could because I'm looking to put 200 millimeters of insulation in between where the rafters begin and where the plasterboard is. So that then leaves a gap between each rafter for an airflow for the breathable membrane that's underneath the tiling of the roof. So relatively straightforward to do at this point because we're not too far off the ground here. It's going to get more awkward as it goes up, and there's another story to tell about that, but that'll come in another video. So what I've done here is put 3 rails across. The distance between sort of where the wall ends and where the purling is there, sitting on the ceiling, is around about 1.4 meters. So about 4 foot and a bit, 5 foot. And then this is the insulation I'm using, rated A class. And the easiest way to cut this is to use a saw. Generally, you cut it so you measure it, you cut it while it's still in its wrapper, which makes it a whole lot easier to cut. And then you can put it in place. And what I did when I first started with insulation way back a few weeks ago, I'd forgotten all about that technique, and I'd unrolled the first one, and it was a right pain in the ass. So anyway, that's the best way of doing it. Slowly work your way around it like you're cutting a large cake, like a large Swiss roll, and that way then you end up with hopefully the size that you need, and then you can unwrap it, and then you can put it into place. And that's cuts very, as you can imagine, it cuts very, very easily. It's no problem at all cutting it. And then you got the 2 bits, and obviously because it's been sort of pressure wrapped, as you undo it, it starts to fill out with it being 20 centimeters in depth. It should give it quite a nice sort of insulated quality to that ceiling. And then got the insulation's gone in on one part, and then put the first board in, and again using the supports that I had used upstairs, similar sort of thing. So it's sitting at an angle so that it can take the weight of the board. They're not massively, because it's not a full board, thankfully. And also because I've actually got kitchen cupboards in place. The kitchen cupboard can help to hold the bottom end of the plasterboard initially, and then the support can go in, and that can hold it in place just until I can get the first couple of screws in. Normally, once you've screwed in a couple of times, the plasterboard will kind of hold. As with this house, the purling doesn't run square, and it sort of weaves in and out. So at this point here, the plasterboard starts slightly over the purling, and then as it runs along, it starts to sit in within the purling. So what I'll probably do is, because I'd like to still keep some wood visible at the end, is I'll probably use some of the old timber that I've still got, some of the old oak timber, cut down sections, sort of thin sections, maybe sort of a couple of centimeters thick, and then just glue them onto that so that you still get the appearance of the purling, but it'll just be slightly deeper than the plasterboard, and that way then once it's stained, it should look like it was always there. I mean, the purling will remain in place. But if you do it the other way, the problem you've got is that, so the plasterboard is running on a level, but because the purling isn't running on a level, the plasterboard sort of weaves in and out of the purling. So anyway, that's first board in. Then we go on to sort of thing, and we've got the second board in. I've got a bit of momentum going. Now, the way you can see at the top there, that's just a temporary light I just stuck on. A couple of external lights, which I planned to put in Normandy and never got round to. So just using them just to give me a bit of temporary lighting in the kitchen until all the boarding's done, and I can actually put the lights in properly. Still haven't decided on what lights I'm using yet, but there'll be more of a choice for the kitchen because obviously you've got a greater depth to the ceiling, whereas in the front room it's quite shallow height wise. So I should be able to get something quite nice to sit in the kitchen area. So again, you can just see the second boards in, panels are in place. You can see the kitchen units there. There's a slight cut just above the kitchen unit. That's actually I've put a junction box in there. Or feeding through for the power points that are going to be just above the worktop area. I thought I was going to run it in sort of on a radial, one after the other, but actually this made it slightly more easier with the fact that I've got wooden panels behind. There you can see the junction box there. It needs to be opened up a wee bit more, the plasterboard, and then just finished off all the way around it. But it was just so that I could see where it was. And then you can see, so the second board then that starts to sit inside of the purlin, whereas the other one was just sitting partially in and partially out, and there's more insulation in place now. If you've seen any of the videos before, you will know that I'm not using a vapor barrier in this. I'm hoping that it will breathe of its own accord and I won't be creating more damp problems by sticking in a plastic sheeting to separate the insulation from the plasterboard. So time will tell whether it's right or wrong, but that's the decision I took. Now we're moving on a bit more. We got another couple of boards in, similar sort of thing. You've got the concern of whether it sits well with the purlin or not, and the final one, which is sitting close to where the airframe is or touching the airframe, that's then sitting over the purlin entirely. Just the way the purlin works, the purlin is sort of banana shaped to a degree. And like I said, once I redo the aesthetic look of the purlin by adding the old oak strips in place, then it should look a lot better. You're getting near to the end of this video, just showing you the beginnings of the kitchen vaulted ceiling. It should look like nice, and there'll still be parts of the A-frame will still be visible, and that should be quite a nice feature as well. Hope you've enjoyed this short video. Hope you'll continue to like and subscribe and comment, and I'll see you on the next video with more stories of the house.